Hey everybody, this is Rick. So in this video, I want to go back a little bit and give you some insight into how I live, why I'm doing this Mr. Know-It-All channel, and a little bit of history about how I got started, in case you're new to my channel. And welcome to my channel, by the way. All right, so I would say a little over a year and a half ago, I was living in a house, you know, had a house with a garage and, lawn to mow and all that regular stuff, right? And let me just get a little ginger ale here with the whistle. Yeah, so I was living a regular life in a house and I just wasn't happy. The house was in a not so great neighborhood and I wanted to get out. So I started thinking, what are my options? If I sell this house, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? But I had actually lost money on my house, right? So I wanted to get out and do something else with my life. So I wasn't real happy with the selling price on my house. It wasn't a large amount of money by any means, but I decided to do it, and I took what I could get. Sold the house, and started thinking about living in a van. Now I had never camped in my life. I had never lived in a vehicle. I had only maybe slept in the car on a trip, maybe just reclined the seats back and slept in it for a couple hours and just to rest. But I had never really lived in a vehicle. I never thought about living in a vehicle. But I had a van. Okay, so I thought, I'll live in the van, So the night before closing, I slept in the van out in the garage, and that was okay. It was all right. You know how it is when you're just sleeping in your vehicle and, you get up and you're a little stiff and, you're aching a little bit, but it was okay. I can do this, right? I thought I can do this. Why not? So right after closing, I got in my van and I took off. And the adventure started. Gradually, I got into improving the van. First, the sleeping arrangement in the van. I got some memory foam and I got some foam pads and sleeping bag, and eventually that got kind of comfortable. But it was a learning process. I eventually learned how go to the bathroom in the van and take care of business that way, and how to cook in the van. How to spend my time, how to organize my time, because you're on the road, you've got to really make some kind of schedule for yourself. No, excuse me. Wow. So anyway, that was the evolution of living in the van, just gradually improving things. I have lots of videos on that, both on YouTube and mostly on YouTube. The older videos are sort of my struggle with getting used to living in a vehicle, and got better over time, but I certainly had my problems. You learn how to eat, you learn what foods you can eat, what foods you can't eat, what foods sort of last, don't go bad while you're on the road. You learn these things. But what I did learn is there is a lot to living in your vehicle. It's a tremendous undertaking. There's a big contrast between living with the conveniences of a house or an apartment or condo, whatever your situation is, because everything is there. You have to go to the bathroom. You just go to the bathroom. It's no big deal. You don't even think about it, right? When you're living in your vehicle, you got to take care of business with that. You have to be able to go to the bathroom in your vehicle. You have to dispose of it properly. You wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and have to go to the bathroom, you better have the facilities ready, because there's not always a public restroom around. So that and food, finding out, food can be a real problem because if you don't have refrigeration, you're basically restricted in the types of food you can eat. So your diet changes, your digestive habits change, for the good, for the bad. Sometimes, sometimes it was good, sometimes it was bad, sometimes constipation was pretty bad, sometimes I had to go 2, 3 times a day, Your mind and your body make adjustments when all of a sudden your living arrangements are in a small area. And that's another thing. All of a sudden you're in a small area. You can't have a lot of stuff. When you're in a house, you can fill your house up with crap, right? You got plenty of rooms and you fill them up with crap over the years. And, you have a garage, lots of tools, lots of room, lots of, when you're living in your vehicle, all of a sudden you have no room for anything. So that affects you too. Are you a person who likes things? You like toys? Then maybe living in your vehicle is not such a good idea. All right, so I hit the road, and then what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? Where am I going to live, right? Where do I want to park this thing? So you get out on the road, and I had done some research, and I learned that South Dakota would allow you a driver's license, and you didn't need a permanent residency. All you needed was the proper address. So luckily, I went out there, got my license plates, got my license, and I was good to go. Right? I thought. Then you have to get insured. Well, if you're going to hit the road and you're going to live in your vehicle, insurance could be a problem. It took me a while before I was able to get it. So imagine this. You don't have a house, you're in your vehicle, your stuff is going to expire, your registration, your license is going to expire, you're no longer a resident of where you were. Now what? Right? Got to take care of these things. Paperwork becomes a real necessity. Getting that license and insurance in place becomes a necessity of life. All right, so I got that done. And then it started getting cold. Okay, this was November in South Dakota. It started getting cold. So I had to leave. So I took off. I took off from South Dakota and destination Quartzsite, Arizona. All right, I don't know if all of you have heard of Quartzsite, Arizona, but it's the mecca for RVs, people living in their vehicles, people living in vans and cars and stuff like that. So I went to Quartzsite and I started staying on BLM land, which is Bureau of Land Management land, okay, government land basically. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. The only trouble is there's a lot of people who think it's a good thing. So there's a lot of people doing that, right? A lot of people doing that. So I was living in Quartzsite. I spent some time in Flagstaff, Yuma, Arizona. Learned about the various places that you can stay for an extended period of time because I didn't have a lot of money. I mean, I don't want to be a nomad. Some people are nomads. They travel all the time, but there's a big fuel cost to traveling all the time. I didn't have that kind of money. So I had to find places where I could stay for a while. And that's an issue. All of a sudden you're on the road and you have to find a place to park. Now, might seem simple for a week or two, but if you're going to do this lifestyle on a long-term basis, you got to find places you can hang for a long period of time because driving around gets old. Gets dark, looking for a place to stay every night gets old. It's a lot of work. So I sort of was getting comfortable with that. And I was feeling, I was kind of lonely. I was lonely out there. I mean, that's another thing. You're by yourself. You have to make a decision about how close you want to get to people and how much you want to sort of, stay to yourself. Well, I'm kind of a state of myself kind of guy. I'm not interested in, hey, where are you from? Tell us your life story. I'm not into that. Not into that. I like being by myself. I'm a little bit of a loner, but you know, I was lonely. Well, let's face it. Everybody likes to be with somebody. So shortly after that, after I posted a couple of lonely videos, got contacted by Lucy, and she's just a wonderful woman, and I've been staying with her in Montreal half a year now. So that's been a great situation. So let me move on to, sort of starting out in 100% in my van. That was my intention, to be on the road 100% and to do that lifestyle. And being in a home type environment in Montreal where all the luxuries and all the necessities are there. You want to go to the bathroom, you go to the bathroom. You want to eat something, you go to the fridge, you eat something, right? On the road, totally different. Totally different. And although I'm just going on my second year of doing this, it'll be 2 years, I think, October, November, something like 2 years doing this. I noticed the tremendous contrast between being on the road and living in a fixed place. And every time I get ready to hit the road, it is a transition in my head of, all right, we're going on the road, we've got to get into traveling mode, into van life mode, and that means taking showers, providing for showers, providing for meals, got to go to the bathroom in the van. Getting into this thought process of being on the road and being a van dweller. And when I think, which is better, being in a fixed place where you've got all the luxuries of home, and they are luxuries, right? Which is better, having the luxuries of home or being on the road, sort of doing your own thing and going where you want to go? And I think it is much more comfortable, obviously, to be in a place where you have everything you need, right? Comfortable bed, lots of space, food, all the things you have to do are there. You can relax, you're not worried about this RV or that guy or this situation here. Everything's cool. As opposed to going on the road and putting yourself out there in what is becoming an increasingly dangerous and hostile environment. Now, I wish I could say it was all scenic views and rainbows out there, but it is not. There's a lot of dangerous people out there on the road. There's a lot of idiots out there and jerks. A lot of them. They have this need to invade space and start conversations where, you haven't invited them over or you haven't indicated you want to talk to them. There are people who like to make contact out there, and it's mostly negative. So you always have to watch it. It goes from being in a safe place to hitting the road, and now you got to watch out. So I sort of learned different techniques to sort of diffuse situations that inevitably happen. You get out there in the van, and you're parked at a rest stop. You can go to all the way over the far end of the rest stop. Beautiful. You're going to sleep overnight, no problem. And you go in to use the restroom, you come back out, somebody's parked right next to you. The whole parking lot's open, but now they're parked right next to you. Shit like that happens all the time on the road. Right? This idea that it's all friendly stuff, don't buy into that. I'm a realist. I'm telling it to you like it is. You go out there, keep your head on a swivel, and always be aware of the jerks out there. Because somebody comes up to talk to you for no reason, they want something. They want something from you. So be aware of that. Anyway, so this is, we're in August now. We're in August. And somewhere around October, maybe September, October, I'm going to be hitting the road again. And I'll have to get into that mode of being on the road, right? My original intent was to be a van dweller. And it's turned out that I'm doing that, thanks to Lucy, I'm able to stay with her for, the summer when it gets too hot in the Southwest. But it's about 6 months up here and about 6 months in the Southwest and other places, around the USA. So it's kind of an interesting lifestyle now, half in Canada, half in the United States. But the getting used to, when you've been comfortable for a couple months, 3-4 months, and then all of a sudden you leave, you get in your vehicle, and now you're on the road. So that's what's going to happen in a couple months. I'm going to be hitting the road again. Hopefully, all the systems that I have in my van, and my van is very basic. It's not a build. I didn't build anything in it. I'm certainly capable of building whatever I need in that van. But when you build stuff, it adds weight. It takes room away from sleeping. I need that large area in my van to sleep so I can spread out a little bit. That I've found to be the case. I know there's a lot of van builds out there that sort of bisect the van, and they have this 30-inch wide bed. Then they have an area where they can sit. I can't do that. There's not enough room in there for me. I'm 6'1" plus, so I need some room to spread out. So still working on my sleeping arrangements. I kind of made a mistake when I bought this memory foam topper to use as a bed, because you sort of sink into it. It sort of envelops you. You sort of sink into it. I got the wrong material. I should have gotten just the plain foam for bedding, but I'm still working on that to get comfortable. Bathroom facilities, I'm still using a bucket. It works out great. I got the pee bottle going, It's an interesting evolution of the pee bottle, because somebody suggested I use one of those laundry detergent bottles because it has a handle. Great suggestion. Whoever suggested that was great. So I've got the laundry thing as a pee bottle. That works great. It's got a handle on it. Cooking my meals fairly efficiency. I now have a little portable stove that I can cook stuff on. I can cook eggs. I can cook different things. I can boil water. I can heat up soup. Simple things. But it makes a big difference when you have your own heating source, especially for coffee in the morning. I went through such an evolution trying to heat water. I can remember videos where I was trying to use a Sterno can, and then I had a USB plug-in coil that you put in the water in the cup, it's been a constant evolution, but now at least I can heat my water. I can have my coffee in the morning. I don't have to pay for coffee every morning. Coffee can get expensive, especially if you're going to, McDonald's every morning, and, you go to McDonald's for coffee that morning, Egg McMuffin looks pretty good. But it can get a little expensive, so better off having my coffee in the morning. So I've evolved so that the coffee's taken care of. What else? I don't have many tools anymore. I have enough tools for an emergency, but I used to collect tools in my garage. I used to have lots of tools. I have nothing now. No, not a lot of possessions. Not a lot of possessions. I'm finally used to that. You're on the road. If you get something, it's got to be small. If you buy something for yourself, you can't buy a TV. You don't have room for that shit. So you got to keep everything small and tidy. And all the stuff you buy has to be stuff that you use, not stuff that you would collect like you have a house. You can't do that stuff anymore. But anyway, that's been the evolution. I hope I haven't rambled too much. That's been my evolution in it'll be 2 years since I'm in this van life lifestyle. I think in beginning of November will be 2 years. So I haven't been doing it that long, but it has been 2 years and I've learned a lot. And so I'm looking forward to getting back into van life and doing some videos about van life for you guys. I know they were kind of popular, and morning coffee and stuff like that. So I'll be getting back into that. But and let me also say, I very much appreciate the people who are following me and subscribing to me. I know there's a lot of content out there you could be watching. And for you to be watching me, it's really an honor that you would take time out and watch my videos, and I'm thankful for that. So, yes, I just wanted to give you an idea of where I came from, what the transition has been, give you an idea about living van life. I know I don't put a lot of positive videos about van life out there because my experience has been kind of dubious out there. I mean, it's been interesting and everything's been cool, but you got to watch out for the people out there because times have changed, the people have changed, people not so nice out there. So let me close by saying, if you're thinking about doing van life, I would give it a try, right? Give it a try. Don't be too negative about it when you first start out and see what happens because it's not for everyone. You know, it's not all scenic views and rainbows. This is Rick, Mr. Know-It-All. Till next time, thanks a lot.